This is coming in more and more even in the videos that are used. We'll finish off by pulling back from the canvas again to remind ourselves how this all comes into being. Why is this cult using this power? I mean, we can't sit here and go into a huge story about, you know, the cognitive mind and the subconscious mind and whether or not even subliminal persuasion, you know, works or not. I have to keep it strictly about the fact that I don't want you to assume it, but I want you to research it, but to take on board the power that this kind of persuasion has. But also that power works two ways. They're using it on us, but we can return it. We can take the power back, because the moment that you are aware of what these people are doing, they only have a certain limited weaponry, by the way. It's very powerful, as you can see. And it is also ubiquitous. But the thing is that once you become aware of it, just your simple awareness, they've lost their power. That's it. It doesn't work on the person who knows what it is. Not in a contemptuous way, well, I think it's rubbish, so I don't listen to it. No, your mind is wide open. You have to have an empowered understanding of what they're doing and why they're doing it and how they're doing it. Know thine enemy, says the Bible, right? Very true. And know the weapons that the enemy is also using. But the moment that you do, you gain the psychic immunity that stops their power. That's it. It's psychological warfare. You can't raise up arms against these people. They're ready for you. It's too crazy. They know how that game works. But this is the way that you understand it. Once you've cracked the secret, you see, then you have the sword that cuts the Gordian knot of all the other complications. The point was made about symbolism by the Scottish historian Thomas Carlyle, who said that by symbols is man guided and commanded, made happy, made wretched. He everywhere finds himself surrounded with symbols, recognized as such or not recognized. And that is the loophole that this particular cult of sorcerers have used. I mean, it sounds bizarre, but there you have it. Who are these people? Well, they are ideologically, I would even go so far as to say biologically, but certainly ideologically connected, by the way, to ancient sorcerers of the ancient world, particularly a group known as the Medes, or at least the people who have plagiarized the knowledge of the Medes in the same way that the knowledge of the Druids and the Omanists was also plagiarized. But there's actually, the word Media comes from a group of people known as the Media, or the Medes, a very, very ancient group that was ensconced up in a place called Medea. Words like Medic and Medici comes from these terms. It's a place not far from Parthia or Persia. And these were the astrologers, the wise ones, the geomancers, the healers, the apothecaries that the kings of the world called on when you wanted to deal with your enemies, when you wanted to put the spell on them. The word Medea is found in mythology as a female. She was actually related physically to Circe in mythology, and she herself was a murderess and a hypnotist that hypnotized people with drugs. Go and study Medea, M-E-D-E-A, the goddess who hypnotized people using drugs to put them into complete delirium. She's actually related to Circe, another goddess known to turn men into pigs. Right? And now there was actually 6 tribes within, I have an article, this one, that you can look at, History of the Medes. It's just a compilation of information that I found on the Medes. There were 6 tribes of the Medes, and the most powerful of the tribes was called Magi. That's where the word comes from magician. Is actually the name of a tribe within the Median peoples, where the word magus comes from. And the word actually meant rich, powerful, high, intelligent, and it really represented men who are like the highest ones, the high men of the world, the ones overlooking, the ones who've got the great knowledge, the great teachers. And if you read this little article I put up there, I go into those 6 and give the names. They're Aryan. There's a lot of Arya tie-in there. Another fascinating subject. The Medes. Their knowledge is what is behind the Holy Wood, which is very similar to Holy Rood, a place in Scotland run by the Templars. And I believe it's not that these Medes are still alive, but these great groups, whether they're Mithraic, Amonist, Druidic, Chaldean, whoever, Chaldean, their knowledge is what is being misused now. You see what I'm saying? Masonry, these organizations are corrupt because they're using sacred knowledge that was for the uplift of all people for a specific elite, for a specific purpose. The knowledge doesn't belong to them, but they're misusing it. This kind of knowledge knows things that we're not supposed to know. They took this route to use subversive symbolism to manipulate us because they understand the workings of the brain. They understand that there's 37 sensory inputs to the brain, not 5. Well, what's happening with those other senses? Well, didn't we hear R.D. Laing last time? Any so-called abnormal function or behavior or experience is now going to be considered a mark of insanity or dementia. Everything's going to be homogenized. So is our consensus reality. Don't anthropologists know that a habitat of an animal right outside its purview, that animals can be trained, their habitat can be changed on the periphery of their vision, that they haven't the faintest idea what's going on? But slowly the behavior of that animal will be changed because its habitat has been changed. Not all training, you see, is direct. Not all puppets are on strings. And they understand the esoteric, and that's what you find. The use of the wand, the use of the lantern, the use of the sword, the use of these remarkable symbols that you find all throughout the royal families and their connection to the human being is a remarkable study. The whole of Egypt, as the great Swallow de Lubitsch pointed out, was designed to emulate and to simulate the subtle energy of the body, which again it ties into music and all sorts of other phenomena. Then we have the same gang, as they start to misuse this symbolism. Oh, we can't have it for everybody. Wow, this really has a lot of power. Shit, what are we going to do? So then you have the prohibition in the Bible against graven images that comes before the prohibition against murder. Right? The prohibition against graven images is before the prohibition against killing people. Can you imagine how important this was to them?